Welcome everyone. This is Rahul Reddy. I'm a CLAT mentor with Career Launcher Bangalore. I have with me Atulit Subramanian. Did I get the name
Hello,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. And he's secured an All India rank of 143 and a Karnataka state rank of 16. So congratulations. First up,
Thank you, sir.
so when did you check it? Because results this time came out in the midnight.
Oh, so I got a message on WhatsApp, sir. Until I clicked that button, I didn't believe that the results have actually come. I expected a blank screen or something like that. So when I saw
Right.
it, I just couldn't believe it.
I understand because I think it was scheduled for 9th and they kind of released it on
Yeah.
7th.
Yes, sir.
And what was the first reaction?
Sir, it was extreme surprise because after the paper, I didn't really know how well I've done because it was a bit of a curveball, right? But once
Right.
I checked the provisional key, I was more sure ki, okay, the paper has gone much better than what I thought the worst case scenario could be like. So I expected a very good score. But when I saw that AIR 143, very pleasantly surprised, went and told my parents. And again, I was still recovering from the shock of the fact that results have randomly come out in the middle of the night.
Yes. And what was the first reaction from your parents?
Oh, they were overjoyed, sir. If I may say so, my friends and my parents were happier than I was because for me, it didn't sink in until a couple of days later that, okay, I'm actually going to NLS.
Okay, so one, of course, every year there's a little bit of controversy with CLAT. This year, the controversies were a little more with respect to the answer keys and so on. But I think you would probably realize that the predictions that we had made and to what would be the cutoff with and without domicile, they were very very accurate.
Yes,
Because
sir. They were more or less very close. Yeah.
we were very worried because you know people are already tense, and then there are institutes making random claims that it will be higher than last year, it will be 103, 105. I mean,
So
because
the
it's not just
yeah.
a fun prediction to make, and people are going to really base their happiness, their worries, their anxiety is going to be based on that. So that makes sense.
So the CL website gave me a prediction of a rank around 130 and it came out to be very close to what I actually
Very
got. So
close.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As you could probably see, 130 and 140 will be probably 0.25 marks off.
5
So
marks.
very
Yes, sir.
difficult to say that. Yeah, so as good as that, yes. I think, as you probably know, because you know that I give the CLAT, and
Paper.
along with me, there are other CL mentors who give, and we have. See, what it does is it gives us a perspective. Look, it's very easy to look at the paper outside the test and say, look, this was easy, this was doable,
Fair
and you could have
enough.
got 22 here and 23 here. But it's under pressure, so it's a different experience. So let's kind of roll the rewind the clock back a little bit. Look at when did you get this idea that look, I want to pursue law as a career.
So I think it was around 10th grade. Now, I have always been involved with things like debating, munning, and public speaking. And I had held positions of authority on my school council continuously for 3, 4 years back then. So I was definitely interested in going into a field where I could utilize my oratory skills. And something I understood very early on is that law is a field from which you can impact society on a very macro level very quickly. Like you are actually in a position to make a genuine difference. And when I looked at those two things in tandem, it really appealed to me as a field, as something I wanted to pursue. And even the idea of going to a law school and being able to interact with such kind of faculty and such kind of material was something which excited me as a prospect.
Any resistance or debate in the family about your choices?
Oh, no, sir. They were very happy with whatever I decided to pursue, and they fully backed me the entire way, whether it was enrolling me in the coaching or getting me the material I wanted or anything of that sort.
Right. Good to hear because we do hear cases of parents, trying to push
Yeah.
certain ideas of what is right onto their kids. So very glad that you had. And this is something again we've seen, especially when we interview toppers, that support from the family actually plays a critical role
Yeah.
in getting through. Support doesn't mean that they like to sit and study. I'm sure
Yeah.
you can do it on
Self-check.
your own, but just being there. Okay. So, right,
Absolutely.
right. So can you kind of run through the experience of how you got started at Career Launcher and what's been the experience from there?
Oh, so I enrolled in the 1 year batch, which would be LST plus, and I started my classes on January 5th of this year. I still remember that day. And to my extreme shock, I was due to give a mock either the next day or the day after that. So
Okay.
I had barely come in and I had just gotten an idea of what the five sections are. And the next thing I know, they're like, come write a mock. And that turned out to be a very good thing because once I gave the mock, I actually got an idea of, okay, what is it that I'm preparing for? And my interaction with the faculty from the very onset was very pleasant. And again, the faculty who I met in the beginning were the same faculty who turned out to be extremely helpful and guided me throughout the course of my entire journey until the very last day over there. And in fact, even after that, because they're still guiding me on how to go about counseling and everything. So yes, sir. I could not be more thankful for Career Launcher and especially the center which I enrolled in, Indranagar. I was always surrounded by extremely competent faculty and even more competent students because they always kept me on my feet and I always knew what a good score in a mock was and what my relevant competition was doing. And I always had a very good idea of what is it that I'm supposed to be doing and whether I'm tending in the right direction or not.
Totally get it. While, obviously a bulk of the effort is the students, the atmosphere and it's a social experience, the
Absolutely.
competition as well as the cooperation. Right. So
Yes,
did
sir.
you have
And
a,
the friends.
study buddies kind of a group kind of thing
Oh,
that
yes,
you
sir. So
worked with?
yes, so none of them were from my batch, incidentally, and one of my friends from my school was also enrolled in CL Nagar. And slowly, as time progressed, all of us also started to get an idea of who is it that is scoring a certain level and who is it that is actually serious about pursuing CLAT and pursuing law as a career. And we formed like a group of around 8, 9 guys, and it was us who persisted throughout the entire year. And we may not have been the same GK group. In fact, I did my GK prep alone, which is something which is rather unconventional. But regardless, all of us, we attempted mocks together, discussed mocks together, compared scores, had WhatsApp groups going, and all of that. And I couldn't have done what I did without them, sir. And both the faculty who helped us and the peer group, it was extremely crucial to my preparation.
Yes, and of course, obviously, I remember most of the people that you're referring to. Some extremely, let us say, talented as well as very hardworking people.
Absolutely.
Constantly on the idea of like, how do I improve and what should I change and what's working, what's not working. How can I push up the score here, score there, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it helps. So again, mocks obviously are a very critical part of the preparation.
Preparation.
So the quality of the mocks, the kind of variety that you got across different mocks of career launches. So how useful was it, and how close it is to the actual plan?
Sir, very useful because at some point in time, I would have also thought, ki, okay, maybe this is not a quote unquote good mock. But then as time progressed, I realized that there is no such thing as a good mock or a bad mock because after seeing CLAT the last 2 years, you need to be prepared for absolutely anything. Rather, you need to go into the paper having zero expectations. So what CL ensured was that we had encountered all sorts of permutations and combinations. Some papers there was an easy English, some papers there was a throwaway legal, very hard logical reasoning, very hard count. We had seen absolutely everything, like every possible permutation, combination, levels of difficulty varying, levels of challenging questions, levels of easier questions, levels of slightly stupid questions, if you can really call it that. There was everything in CL box, and I'm very thankful for that. I may not have realized it in the moment, but the fact that I was able to hold on to my composure during those 2 hours is largely because I had seen a huge variety of mocks. So I have CL to thank for that.
Right. So when we look at prep for CLAT, we look at the concepts, we look at the application of concepts, accuracy, speed, but we also look at strategy, which is that and obviously strategy is not exactly the same for each student. There's some
Of
general
course.
principles. After that, everybody customizes, right?
Yes, sir.
So what was your strategy, and did you get inputs on that from mentors?
Yes, sir. So the mentors themselves, one of the faculty, he guided me through the order of attempting sections. Now, the time frame you give for each section is more or less the same for everybody, and you account for your own skill and comfort in that section, and you also account for the difficulty on that given day in that particular paper. So that is roughly the same for everyone, and I'm very glad that we were told what is the frame within which we have to operate. But the order given to me was first I'd start with legal, then move on to English, then the GK section, then logic, and then quant. And this was something which was told to me very early on, and of course, I did a bit of my own experimentation as well. But largely, I stuck to this, I stuck to my guns, and even in CLAT, I was clear that come what may, I'm not going to give in to any particular random ideas I have on that day. I'll stick to this order. Time, of course, here and there you have to mess with, but yes, the order I stuck to, and I'm thankful for that order. It gave me an appropriate break in between, and I got used to that. So it kind of became mechanical by the end of it.
And one specific word on quant, I think throughout the year, one of the things that all of us have been saying is don't take quant lightly. Make sure
Of
that
course,
get it around that. So hopefully you did well in quant. You must have to get
yes,
this
sir.
kind of a score.
I attempted 10 questions and got one wrong, sir. And of course, I think both quant and AR ended up making a huge difference in the paper because a lot of people I know personally and a lot of people I'm seeing on the internet would have assumed that all six questions are wrong when that was not the case. So, whoever it was, me included, who got those two questions in the
Correct.
AR correct,
Yeah.
they would have benefited a lot. And same with quant, time was very less. And so, incidentally, it was for the first time in my life that I was able to attempt two entire passages given just 12 minutes. I have never attempted a paper with that less time, and the situation had it on that day that I was left with just that much
Which is
time.
very good.
But somehow I attempted 10 questions, which I'm very thankful for, and I had a look at both passages properly.
Well, this is something that we had discussed where we said that look, we had scenarios where GK would be easy, English would be easy, and legal would be easy. And therefore,
Yes,
the deciding factors will be the AR and the quant,
quant.
and which is what
Yeah,
actually turned out.
absolutely. Yes, sir.
Now, broader question when we look at our country in general and students in Bangalore and outside, uh, law is not a very popular choice. Yes, it's a good number of people
Yes, sir.
taking it, but in comparison to some of the quote unquote JE and medicine kind of
Yes.
careers and all that, what kind of people should consider this? And what are the great opportunities that they can look forward to after they do law from a good college?
I mean, so, sir, I personally believe that people should definitely look at multiple options before making a decision. Now, there are, of course, certain exceptional cases where you feel that you're cut out for something and you definitely tend to that. And to those people, I'll say that absolutely go with what you think you should do. And of course, discuss it with your parents. And before making any decision, someone should definitely look at what are the possible avenues which you can go into in terms of career once you're out of college. Now, from what I know about law, there are multiple spectrums over here, multiple fields you can actually go into. You can go into corporate, you can go into litigation. Now, someone is interested in pro bono work like I am, you can go into that. You can also end up going into the judiciary. What I'll say is explore your options and definitely have a look at what the field has to offer and talk to people who are actually involved in it who can give you a very clear picture. That's what helped me. I ended up speaking to quite a lot of people from Career Launcher, incidentally, who gave CLAT and people who actually graduated out of NLS and people who are now doing very well in the field of law. And a lot of coaching institute offers demo classes and things like that, right? So again, people should go look into that and really know what they're signing up for. I believe that that is the best way to go about things. Pursue your passion, but always know what it is that you are getting into.
I think one, while that's a small factor, but it's a fun fact is that when you kind of look at the way classes are done, let us say in our CL centers, and compare with something like an IIT JEE or a medicine, I think some of students seem to be much more happy in the classroom in the CL than in the IIT JEE center. More interactive,
Sure.
more bubbly, more enthusiastic, and more happy than
Yeah.
a kind of more debate, actually, more
I mean,
spirited
that
debate.
comes, I think for me at least, it came down to the fact that while the classrooms were essential for setting down basic concepts, Majority of the learning happened outside the classrooms. Our biggest learning came from a mock. This is something everyone who cleared CLAT will tell you, that you learn the most from throwing yourself into that situation. And a big thank you to Career Launcher for putting the emphasis they did on analyzing mocks, because it is one thing to attempt a mock, but sitting in really analyzing your mock, figuring out where your mistakes are, what is your weak point, how can you improve, additional material which you can look at. Again, that emphasis came absolutely key when the paper came around. And again, sitting with the faculty outside class hours. I mean, sir, I think you would have seen, right? Whenever you showed up to
Yes,
center, my group and I and multiple people, morning, evening, afternoon, we
absolutely.
were there the entire day. You had to forcefully kick us out of the center, saying that we need to close the center. So the learning happened outside. It was largely self-generated, but yes, so the classrooms were very essential for setting down basic concepts, especially in legal reasoning and logical reasoning.
Right. So again, a big audience who's going to view these videos are people who are actually started preparation, be it for LST 26, CLAT 26, or people who will join in and then look for later CLATs like CLAT 27 and so on. So
Yes, sir.
what advice in small points?
Okay, so first of all, mocks. Mocks are the almost everything in your prep, because again, there is of course a certain amount of gap you should give between every mock, and then like be a little selective about where you're picking your mocks from and what you're doing and the timing in which you attempt it and at the order frequency, all of that. That's again something the faculty will guide you through, but give a lot of attention to mocks and specifically the analysis, like I mentioned. Secondly, when you walk into the paper on that day, I mean, again, this is very CLAT day specific. Go in with zero expectations. Don't even expect basic things like, oh, 24 questions, it's going to be four passages of six questions. Nothing of that sort. I think the more you go into the paper expecting nothing very specific, the likelier you are to not be thrown off by something out of the ordinary. And again, stick with your prep. And CLAT is not an exam where your effort is directly proportional to the marks you get. Now, again, this might sound a little bit outlandish because this is again a competitive exam we're talking about, right? But understand that spacing yourself out, giving yourself appropriate breaks, and quality prep, that's what you need. And largely, I think this is something I observed among my friend group when I CLAT sort of became a mind game. Again, you will develop a certain proficiency in everything, and after a point your scores will sort of stagnate. I mean, it'll go up here and there on the basis of that day and on the basis of the mock itself, but you will stagnate. And I think from then on it becomes a question of what is the self-confidence which you have going into the paper. So a funny story is, going into CLAT day, my center was NLS, and couple of my friends and I, we were standing in the line and we could see that everyone around us is absolutely tensed. And the three of us, we are laughing because we are like, what is it which they can probably ask us which we are not prepared for? I mean, of
Right.
course, the paper was an absolute curveball, but again, going into the paper, there was a lot of confidence, and developing that confidence and developing that amount of strength in your own beliefs that okay, I have done my preparation and I have done what I had to. And also, I'll say, let the faculty guide you. The faculty has been around for multiple years. They know what they're doing and they have seen multiple students like you and I. So let them guide you, especially with regards to GK. Listen to what they have to say, discover your own rhythm, and again, consistent effort will yield consistent rewards. But again, let them guide you on the journey. They know what they're doing. Yes, sir.
Quick word, because we've done in the last few months some of these consolidated mocks that we did at the St. Joseph's Center, including the last one at the Joseph School of Law, right? And
Yes,
that's
sir.
where you had 200 plus students to a bench, actual exam atmosphere.
Absolutely.
So
Yes, sir.
how did that help you kind of say get used to the idea of the actual exam?
So, sir, I think for me, these came into the picture, especially towards like the last few months of CLAT as we
Last year,
approach closer to the exam. And especially the last mock we had 1 week before CLAT, which was at St. Joseph's itself.
right?
I think that's when I really got used to the idea of sitting in like huge halls with proper lighting, timing, and people around me. But then again, sir, I personally am not someone who is very impacted by the atmosphere on that day. So It's not like my score really got affected too much by the atmosphere, but I understand that it could be very helpful for a lot of people. And when it comes to competitives, I think the less subjective elements there are on that day, the better it is. Because the less subjective elements there are, the less it becomes about luck or on the given day. So the idea of being familiar to such a large atmosphere can be very helpful. So you at least know going in that, okay, situation can be like this. So you're mentally prepared. So that adds a certain level of fortitude before you attempt the exam. And you need all the extra support you can get on that particular day. So definitely, I would recommend the attending exams with these kind of atmospheres.
Okay, so that's Atulit for you. Big congratulations once again, and
Thank you, sir.
yes, NLS Bangalore, I assume.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
And as with every year, Career Launcher Bangalore will be sending a large contingent. I think a few numbers will keep getting adding. We're already, I think, 30 plus right now, as with every year. Of course, some thanks to the domicile category that helps.
Of
Of course,
course.
somebody like you would have gotten even without the
I'm
that
not
much.
sure, honestly, sir.
Okay,
But
borderline,
yeah.
you could say.
Yes.
Right? But then it helps. And so thanks once again. And I'm sure people watching, especially those who are looking at preparing for CLAT in the coming years, would take note of the advice that was given. And yes, Career Launcher is always there to help. And of course, Indranagar was mentioned by Atulit. We have similar centers and similar experiences at our Jayanagar, Malleshwaram, and Kormangla centers also. Right? Right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, CL. All the best to us watching. Thank you, sir.